Today we will be discussing about liver. Coming to the introduction, few introductory points about the liver. Liver is the largest organ in the body, and in 80 kg average person weight, it weighs about 1.7 kg. As you know, it is situated in the right upper quadrant, beneath the diaphragm, and enclosed by the rib cage. And liver is surrounded by a thin fibrous capsule, which is known as the distension capsule, and it is surrounded by the peritoneum all over, except on the posterior surface of the liver, where it is deficient. It is where it is known as the area. And this distension capsule is the structure which is responsible for the pain when there is any pathology associated with the liver, leading to the enlargement of the liver. Coming to the anatomy, first we will discuss about the ligaments and the peritoneal reflections. So these ligaments are nothing but the peritoneal reflections which hang the liver in the right upper quadrant below the diaphragm. Means they form a supporting framework to hold the liver in position. Okay. Let us consider four important peritoneal reflections or ligaments are present, which is the right triangular ligament, the left triangular ligament, the falciform ligament, and the lesser ligament. See, in this picture, you can see. Okay, this is the right triangular ligament, which holds the right lobe of the liver to the right hemidiaphragm above. Okay, and this is the left triangular ligament, which holds the left lobe of the liver to the left hemidiaphragm, and this is the falciform ligament, which is a remnant of the umbilical vein, which extends from the umbilicus to the inferior surface of the liver, and from here it turns over to the anterior surface and attaches to the anterior abdominal wall. Okay. And the final thing is hyperextend ligament or the lesser momentum or the hyperextend ligament, which extends from the liver from here to the stomach and the duodenum. Okay, here will be the stomach here, and the hyperextend ligament will extend from here to here. Okay, all these ligaments and the peritoneal reflections, they hold the liver in place. Coming to the blood supply of the liver, your liver has a dual blood supply, unique characteristic. 80% is derived from the portal vein and 20% is derived from the hepatic artery. You all know how the hepatic artery is formed. Okay, this is the aorta, and this is the celiac trunk, which divides into three branches, which are left gastric, splenic, and the common hepatic. Okay, this common hepatic divides into the gastroduodenal and hepatic artery proper. This is the hepatic artery proper. From this hepatic artery, it divides into the right and the left hepatic arteries. Okay, in the process, it gives right gastric, and this right hepatic artery gives a branch to the cystic gallbladder, which is a cystic artery. Okay, so this right hepatic artery, this right and left hepatic artery, they supply only the 20% of the blood supply. Okay, 80% of the blood supply is derived from the portal vein. You all know how the portal vein is formed. The superior mesenteric vein joins with the splenic vein to form the portal vein behind the neck of the pancreas, and it descends upwards towards the liver and the free border of the segmental. Okay, it reaches the liver and divides into right and left branches, and it supplies about 80% of the blood supply. Okay. Coming to the venous drainage. The venous drainage is into the inferior vena cava by three main hepatic veins. Okay, this is the right hepatic, the middle hepatic, and the left hepatic vein. Okay, so the right hepatic vein enters into the IVC independently, whereas the left and the middle, they join together within the liver parenchyma and then open into the IVC. This IVC is present in the groove in the posterior aspect of the liver. Okay, above it pierces the diaphragm and continues to the right heart, and below it receives the renal branches. Okay. So, via the hepatic veins, there are three main hepatic veins, the right, middle, and left, which enter into the IVC. And the right hepatic vein can be exposed fully outside the liver, but the middle and the left hepatic veins, they join and then open into the, within the parenchyma of the liver, they join and then open into the IVC. Okay, there are another veins known as inferior hepatic veins, which are the short hepatic veins, which directly communicate the liver parenchyma with the IVC, independent of this hepatic veins. Okay. Next, coming to the segmental anatomy of the liver. See, as you see in this figure, the liver, it is divided into two lobes. Okay, the right lobe and the left lobe. This one. Okay, this is the falciform ligament. Falciform ligament is a umbilical vein remnant which extends from the umbilicus to the liver and divides the liver into two lobes, which are right and left. This right lobe and left lobe, these are anatomical lobes of the liver. Okay, anatomical lobes. Right lobe occupies about 3/4 and the left lobe occupies about 1/4. Okay, this division is known as anatomical division. Okay, but Coinard is a scientist who worked very hard to do the functional division of the liver. Okay, functional division of the liver. Functionally, the liver is divided into the right lobes and the left lobes. See here. Okay, this is the surgical lobes or functional lobes. Functionally, see, anatomically this is the right lobe and left lobe, but functionally the left lobe extends up to here. Okay, so this distinction is made by an imaginary line. Okay, extending from the IVC here. IVC extends from here to here. The left of the IVC here, extending from the left of the IVC down to the gallbladder fossa. This imaginary line, it is known as Cantley's line. Okay, this Cantley's line divides the liver into functional right and the left lobes. Okay, so Cantley's line, and the Coinard is a scientist. With the help of this Cantley's line, divided the liver into 8 segments. Okay, 8 segments. So the Cantley's line extends from the left of the IVC down to the gallbladder fossa. Okay. So now we'll see the different segments of the liver, functional segments. Okay. The portal vein, the main portal vein, see here, it is a portal vein. It has 4 branches, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 main branches, and divides the whole liver into 4 main portal sectors. Okay, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so 4 main branches of the portal vein divide the liver into 4 main portal sectors. Okay, and this portal sector between this, it is known as intersectoral plane. Okay, in this intersectoral plane, the 3 main hepatic veins, they run and join the IVC. Okay, this is one intersectoral plane, this is one intersectoral plane, and this is one intersectoral plane. Okay, so 4 portal sectors and 3 intersectoral planes through which the hepatic veins they run. Okay, these portal sectors, which are also known as portal scissors, containing the hepatic veins, they are known as hepatic fissures. Okay, so this is the right posterior sector, this is the right medial sector, this is the left medial sector, and this is the left lateral sector. Okay, right posterior, right anterior, left medial, and left lateral sector. Okay, so each portal sector consists of 1 or 2 segments. Okay, the biliary radiculae, vascular biliary sheets, they divide each sector into 2 segments. Okay, each portal sector, it is divided into 1 or 2 segments. Okay, see, the right posterior sector, it consists of the segments 6 and 7. Okay, the right anterior consists of 5 and 8. Okay, left medial sector consists of 4 and 3. Okay, left lateral sector consists of segment 2. Okay, so in each portal sector there are 1 or 2 segments. Okay, the whole idea behind this dividing the liver into different segments is to facilitate the hepatic resections. Okay, limited hepatic resections, so that much of the liver, much of the functional liver will be left behind, and it will the prognosis and the morbidity progress will be good, and the morbidity will be less. Okay, so the functional liver can be conserved when the resections are through these segments. Okay, so as you know, every organ has got its functional units. Okay, the functional units of the liver, they are hepatic lobules. Okay, so this is the structure of the hepatic lobule. This consists of these cords of hepatocytes. These are called the cords of the hepatocytes. Okay, which are separated by these blue structures, which are known as the sinusoids. Okay, there is one cord of hepatocytes and the other cord of hepatocytes separated in between by the sinusoids. Okay, and this is known as portal triad. Okay, which consists of the green thing, which is known as bile duct, the portal vein, and the hepatic artery. Okay, the branch of hepatic artery, a branch of a portal vein, and a bile duct together form the portal triad. Okay, and this vein in the center, it is known as central vein. Okay, from here blood enters through the hepatic artery and the portal vein into the sinusoids. Okay, through the sinusoids it flows towards the central vein, and this central vein is a branch of hepatic vein. All the central veins join together to form the hepatic vein, and this hepatic vein directly drains into the IVC. Okay, in this sinusoids, which are dilated endothelial spaces, okay, they contain Kupffer cells and stellate cells, and the other functions which are carried out, other major functions of the liver, they are carried out while the blood is passing from this portal triad towards the central vein. Okay, and this biliary duct, it collects all the bile from the hepatocytes in the opposite direction to the blood flow. Okay, through the biliary caliculi, blood flows through the branches of the bile duct. Finally, they form the right lobe. From the right lobe, this right hepatic duct, and from the left lobe, this left hepatic duct, which join together to form common hepatic duct, which is joined by the cystic duct to form common bile duct, which enters into the second part of the duodenum. Okay, so coming to the liver functions and tests. Okay, what are the main functions of the liver? So these are the major functions of the liver. Okay, first thing is to maintain the core body temperature. The other is to maintain the pH. Next, synthesis of clotting factors, glucose metabolism, glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, urea formation from the protein catabolism, bilirubin formation from the hemoglobin degradation, drug metabolism, hormone metabolism, and their excretion through the bile, and removal of the gut endotoxins and foreign antigens through the blood, which it receives through the portal vein from the intestines. Okay. So, broadly, the liver function test laboratory evaluation is done through these parameters. So, the serum bilirubin, serum alkaline phosphate, aspartate transaminase, LLN transaminase, and gamma glutamate transaminase. Okay. These liver function tests don't actually show the functional aspect of the liver. These show the overall well-being of the hepatocytes. Okay. In routine liver function tests, you don't see this albumin and prothrombin. Okay. These only till gamma glutamyl peptidase we have the values. Okay. In the serum bilirubin, you can see the total bilirubin, the direct bilirubin, and the indirect bilirubin, the alkaline phosphate, aspartate transaminase, LLN transaminase, and the gamma glutamyl transpeptidase. Okay. So bilirubin is a degradation product which is synthesized from the degraded hemoglobin. Okay. So the hemoglobin is degraded and it is synthesized to form the bilirubin. Okay. So there are two components, the indirect bilirubin and the direct bilirubin. Indirect bilirubin is unconjugated, insoluble. Okay. And direct is conjugated and it is soluble. Okay. When due to this bilirubin levels get increased whenever there is increased hemolysis or when there is hepatocellular dysfunction, where the absorption and the excretion of the bilirubin is defective, and it can be a obstructive cause where the drainage of the bile into the intestine is affected. So overall, broadly, these three causes increase in the bilirubin levels. Okay. This alkaline phosphatase, it is increased in case of cholestatic liver diseases, or whenever there is any biliary obstruction, whenever there is obstruction to the flow of the bile, this alkaline phosphatase is increased. And the aspartate transaminase and the LLN transaminase, they indicate the hepatocellular injury. Okay. Whenever there is some injury to the hepatocytes, due to many causes, this rise of this aspartate transaminase and LLN transaminase, and the gamma glutamyl transpeptidase, it is also increased whenever there is hepatocellular injury, but especially when there is alcohol induced damage, this gamma glutamyl transpeptidase is increased. Okay. So this actual synthetic function of the liver, it can be assessed by measurement of the serum albumin and the prothrombin time. Okay. So liver synthesizes the proteins albumin and the clotting factors, okay, which can be reflected in the terms of the prothrombin time. Okay. So in order to assess if there is any chronic liver disease, if you want to know the synthetic function of the liver, you have to measure the serum bilirubin, serum albumin, and the prothrombin time. Okay. With these three parameters, you can see the overall the synthetic function of the liver. Okay. So impaired liver function. So the liver failure can be the acute liver failure or the chronic liver failure. Okay. So what are the causes of the acute liver failure? So viral hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, drug reactions such as halothane, so this is important. Okay. The anti-tuberculous drugs which have hepatotoxicity, isoniazid and rifampicin, and then ascites, and then antidepressants, sodium valproic acid, okay, paracetamol toxicity, mushroom poisoning in cases of shock and multi-organ failure, and acute Budd-Chiari syndrome. So Budd-Chiari syndrome is occlusion of the hepatic veins. Okay, when there is acute occlusion due to thrombus or embolus, okay, there will be liver congestion, and finally it leads to the fulminant hepatic failure. Okay, the Wilson's disease, which is copper increased deposition of the copper within the tissues within the liver. Okay, and then the fatty liver of the pregnancy. So in the early stages there are no objective signs, but with progressive dysfunction there is onset of the jaundice, clinical jaundice, when the serum bilirubin level rises about 2.5 milligrams per dl, and this may be associated with neurological signs of liver failure, which is known as hepatic encephalopathy, which consists of features like liver flap, drowsiness, confusion, and finally the eventually patient will land into coma. Okay, the overall mortality from the acute liver failure is approximately 50%. Okay, has high mortality rate even with the best supportive therapy. So what do you do about this? How do you manage a case of acute liver failure? So supportive therapy in the form of fluid balance and electrolyte balance, acid-base balance, glucose monitoring, if nutrition, secondary renal function can be present in case of hepatic failure. Then you have to do dialysis, and then there will be respiratory failure following the hepatic failure. We have to ventilate the patient. Okay, they can be cerebral edema, so we have to take care of the cerebral edema. And this acute liver failure patients, they are more prone to develop secondary bacterial and fungal infections, which has to be taken care. Okay, the ultimate treatment option is the liver transplantation, and even with the liver transplantation, the morbidity and the mortality, they are very high, and compared to chronic liver disease patient undergoing liver transplantation, the acute liver disease liver transplantation is it has pretty high failure rates. So chronic liver disease, so the features are lethargy and fever. The jaundice in acute liver failure, the onset of jaundice is very quick. Okay, but in case of chronic liver disease, lethargy and the fever, they come before the jaundice. Okay, so fever, lethargy, and fever is due to the inflammatory process due to bacterial infections of which the chronic liver disease patients, they are predisposed. Okay, this bacterial infection leads to the release of the inflammatory mediators and the cytokines into the systemic circulation, which can cause low-grade fever and jaundice, and there can be protein catabolism because the synthetic function of the liver is lost, so there will be a protein destruction leading to the muscle wasting. Next, the synthesis of clotting factors is affected, so the patient can land into coagulopathy, which leads to development of bruises all over the body. And in chronic liver disease, there is hyperdynamic circulation. There is increased cardiac output. Okay, and then neurological features like memory impairment, confusion, personality changes, altered sleep patterns, slurred speech, and finally the patient can land into coma also. And this is the most important feature of the chronic liver disease, the portal hypertension, okay, leading to the development of esophageal varices, splenomegaly, and ultimately the ascites. Okay, cutaneous features like spider nevi, palmar erythema, and leukonychia, which is white nails, is seen, and endocrine problems lead to hypogonadism and the gynecomastia. Okay, these features are very important even for your medicine postings. Okay, you need to know the features of the chronic liver disease, very important. Okay. Next, in the case of chronic liver disease, the most useful clinical sign is flapping tiber. Okay, you'll ask the patient to extend his arms, hyperextend his wrist, okay, and close his eyes. Okay, you can see the tremors in this hand, which is known as flapping tremor, and it is a most useful clinical sign. Okay, so next, ascites leading to abdominal distension is a late feature. Okay, so there are some parameters to assess the severity of the chronic liver disease. Okay, so those are CTP, child Tarkot classification, and the model for end stage liver disease or MELD score. Okay, it takes certain parameters, and each parameter will have some limitations which are graded, which are given some points, and depending upon the points, we know the severity of the chronic liver disease. Okay, this is a CTP classification, which is most commonly used parameter to assess the severity of the liver disease, to assess the prognosis, and it also guides the choice of therapy that can be employed in these patients. Okay, so there will be 5 parameters. Okay, serum bilirubin, serum albumin, ascites, encephalopathy, and the PT or INR. Okay, see each this parameters, like, see, if the bilirubin level is less than 3.4, it is micromoles per liter, but generally we will look about the millimoles, milligrams per dl. Okay, it is 3.4 milligrams per dl. Okay, if it is less than 3.4, it is 1.1, given 1 point. 3.4 to 5, it is given 2 points, and more than 5, it is given 3 points. Like that, albumin more than 3.5, it is 1 point. 2.5 to 3.5 is 2 points, and less than 2.5 is 3 points. Okay, and the ascites, none, easily controlled and poorly controlled. Encephalopathy, none, grade 1, 2, grade 3, 4. Okay, so each parameter is given certain cutoff values, and for each cutoff value they are given some points. Okay, finally we'll calculate all these points. Highest value is 15, and the least value is 5. Okay, so depending upon the sum of all the points, this is divided into 3 classes: CTP A, Group A, Group B, and Group C. Okay, A class is 5 to 6 points, B is 7 to 9, and C is 10 to 15. Okay, this indicates mild. In broad way, you can see mild, moderate, and severe. Okay, severe chronic liver disease, moderate chronic liver disease, and this mild chronic liver disease. Okay, so how this guides therapy is, if you want to do any surgery on the liver, you have to do, if you want to perform any resections on the liver, it can be done only in the CTP A group, which is in which they are having mild severity of the disease. Okay, in CTPC you cannot do any sort of surgeries, minor surgeries or major surgeries. Okay, the only option in CTPC patients is liver transplantation. Okay, and in CTP-B patients you can do minor resections, not major resections. Okay, in CTP-A you can do major resections. Okay, we'll continue the rest in the next class.